Thousands of fighters from Iran-backed groups in the Middle East are ready to come to Lebanon to join with the militant Hezbollah group in its battle with Israel if the simmering conflict escalates into a full-blown war. Now, officials with Iran-backed factions and analysts are confirming this information. Almost daily exchanges of fire have occurred along Lebanon's frontier with northern Israel since fighters from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip staged that bloody assault on southern Israel back in early October that set off the war in Gaza. Joining us live this morning for this breaking news alert, national security expert with the University of New Haven, Ken Gray. Good morning to you, Ken. Always a pleasure.
Hello again.
So I want to ask you, we have been discussing, will a war break out between Israel and Hezbollah? We are very familiar with the fighting that's ensued, but we're looking to see if that declaration of war will happen. Now learning that thousands of Iran-backed fighters are actually trying to join Hezbollah in this fight. Very concerning this Sunday morning.
It is indeed very concerning. There is more activity by the IDF occurring across the border into Lebanon than is occurring right now throughout the Gaza Strip. The IDF is responding to attacks by Hezbollah, and the senior military leaders have approved the plan of moving into southern Lebanon in the event that they need to do so. They have been simulating their early stages of such an attack if they decide to do so. And so there is a real possibility that this warm front that is going on the northern border there of Israel with South Lebanon is going to heat up and become a full conflict, another front for this war. In addition to that, Israel over the weekend struck against a supporter of Hamas, Ayman Gatma, who has been providing weapons to Hamas, and he was in Lebanon. And so there very much is activity by the IDF against Hezbollah and against Hamas members inside of Lebanon. And this is likely to spill over and become another front.
You mentioned the fighting with the IDF, changing that video now on the screen so the viewers can see it. Can, to paint that picture of the fighting that's happening there in the Middle East. Now, we know this conflict is happening simultaneously with the conflict with Hamas, as you just explained. And many of the viewers concerned about that regional conflict that you expressed, when you hear of fighters joining a terroristic organization to try to defeat Israel, you wonder, in fact, if they might also try to team up with Hamas on that front.
Sure. So keep in mind that Iran is running the Axis of Resistance, a group of supporters, militants, insurgents located in Syria, in Iraq, in South Lebanon with the Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis also. So there are a number of different groups that are all either currently engaged with Israel or ready to take part in a fight in the event that this becomes a full regional conflict. Israel only has the United States right now supporting it, and in actions against the Houthis, the UK and France and a few other countries have taken some action against the Houthis, but they nonetheless continue their operations also. If you look at the fighting that is going on inside the Gaza Strip, the IDF has said that they are about to complete their operations in Rafah, even though those tunnels still remain, and that that is where most of their fighting is taking place, is identifying and destroying tunnels in Rafah. Right now, across the Gaza Strip, there is more IDF activity north of Rafah in either central Gaza Strip or up in Gaza City than there is going on down in Rafah, which is supposed to be where the battlefront is taking place. And so the war has changed. It's changed in trying to wrap things up, going towards a different level of fighting in the Gaza Strip. And as we see this fighting start to subside somewhat across the Gaza Strip, we see it heating up on the north border there with Lebanon. So again, the type of fighting is changing. The intent by Hezbollah is to harass Israel. The intent of Israel is to be able to have people who live in the northern part of Israel to return. They've moved 60,000 Israelis out of the area because they were at risk of being hit by Hezbollah. And so I think Israel wants to either remove Hezbollah as a threat or at least move them back away from the border to have a safe buffer between Hezbollah and Israel.
When it comes to the historical aspect of this conflict there in the Middle East, I know you've been saying from the very beginning, this is about power. This is about control of a region. This is about control of territory. As we are seeing the conflict with Israel and Hamas kind of get worked out with those ceasefire negotiations, but then you see Israel and Hezbollah, that flame getting a little bit brighter on that front. Could we potentially see Hezbollah and Hamas have some type of conflict? Because even though these are terroristic organizations, they do differ because they also want control of the same type of area.
Hezbollah is Shia, and they are a proxy for Iran. Hamas is Sunni Islam, and so the Hezbollah and Hamas, if you did not have an Israel, they might be fighting one another. But that being said, they are united in their conflict against Israel. I think if you look at the greater scheme of things, Israel had been in the process of being recognized by a number of the bordering Arab countries. They were very close to coming to be recognized by Saudi Arabia and start doing trade with Saudi Arabia. Hamas picked that opportunity to attack to keep that from happening. And then Hamas struck Israel, fled back into the Gaza Strip, and appealed to the Arab nations to try to come to their support, which did not happen. But the rest of the world has been coming to Hamas's assistance by trying to isolate Israel. As I've said before, Hamas wins this war by surviving, and it looks like the IDF will not wipe out, will not totally neutralize Hamas if this conflict ends up being resolved here with coming to some type of recognition of the Palestinians as a two-state solution. Hamas wins in that case, even though that was not their intent. But again, this whole region is likely to go up and become a huge regional conflict if the Israelis end up having to fight Hezbollah, because of the axis of resistance will come to their support, as you pointed out.
When it comes to the fighting, I know the last time we spoke, we were following headlines of those reservists joining the IDF, coming out of retirement to help with this military front. And then now you see that thousands of fighters offering to join Hezbollah. Is there concern? I know there was concern about the aid to help with the war as far as the ammunition and those type of things. But now we're seeing, are there even enough fighters for this conflict to continue on both sides?
So as far as Israel is concerned, the majority of the IDF members are reservists who get activated when they are needed. And when they are not activated, they are busy doing the jobs in Israel as part of their economy. And so the Israeli economy is suffering because a lot of fighters have been taking part in this war. In addition to the Israelis, you had Jews from all around the world who may have served the term with the IDF, volunteering to return to Israel and taking part in this conflict with Hamas. Early on, you had people from all over the world go there and sign back up to take part in that conflict. Some of those have since been pulled out and sent back home. But in the event that this becomes a full-blown fight with Hezbollah, the Israelis are going to have to once again activate everyone to take part in this, because this is going to be a much bigger conflict than trying to deal with Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. Additionally, you have the West Bank, which has been having more and more activities. And if the Israelis start engaging Hezbollah in South Lebanon, you're likely to see the West Bank also boil over and become another problem. So the Israelis will be surrounded by all sides in that event.
My goodness, Ken Gray, always a pleasure having you here on Live Now from Fox. Your expertise and perspective, thoroughly appreciated. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything we need to be keeping a close eye on as this conflict ensues there in the Middle East?
I know I've mentioned it in the past that we need to be watching our own borders here in the United States, because the United States is the chief proponent of Israel. We are the ones supporting Israel. Consequently, terror groups could come into the United States and attack here in support of Hamas or in support of Hezbollah. And we already saw last week the arrest of those 8 potential terrorists here in the United States. There may be already other ones currently in the U.S. So keep your eye towards both the borders and possible outbreaks here in the United States in support of this battle.
Absolutely. And they were saying they did have ties to ISIS. Great perspective there.